The morning bus to Central City obeyed the soldiers' command to pull to the side. The commuters mumbled amongst themselves about the frequency of the new inspections. The soldier boarded the bus while his 5 comrades remained outside by their armored vehicle. The soldier said, "Good morning, my fellow Wakandans. I will be conducting a scan for parallel universe immigrants. It should not take too long." The soldier carried a device that resembled a speed gun and he waved it over the heads of the commuters from seat to seat. A middle-aged man rose quietly in the back row and stood with a mixture of pride and fear. "It's me you are looking for," said the man. The soldier turned the sensor to the man's direction and it started to hum. The soldier called for his comrades over a transmitter. "We are Wakandans like you even if we come from a different universe. We shouldn't be treated like this," said the man. The soldier approached the man and motioned him to enter the aisle so he could be escorted out. A woman yelled, "We don't know what pathogens your people brought over. You have no right to be traveling with us until everything is sorted out." "That's enough," said the soldier. The man was taken out of the bus and placed in the armored vehicle. The soldier resumed his scan of the bus without any other event. White Gorilla Clan territory. Shuri awoke in Kana's bed and he was still asleep. They had done it, they had finally defied T'Challa's political manipulations, the modern-day war between their respective clans and all logic that their relationship would not work out since Shuri was also Kana's superior officer. But with all that had transpired in the last 8 months with the destruction of the multiverse and the alteration of Earth, Shuri felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. Albeit the love affair still needed to be kept a secret. Her kimono beeped on the dresser table. She took it up and read the message that another member of the mystery clan was detained. "My goodness," she said. She roused Kana from his sleep. "Get up, we have to go to work, there is an interrogation to be handled," said Shuri. "Can we eat first?" asked Kana. Then he kissed her forehead. "At the defense building," said Shuri. 30 minutes later, Shuri was in her combat suit's invisibility mode and entered Kana's mini-military plane that was parked outside his small home. "The dark side of the moon, may I help you?" asked T'Challa of the being that was tracking him. The being illuminated its body to reveal that it was a woman. "My name is Dr. Spectrum. I want to know how to reach the creature that destroyed my world, my universe." "To do what?" asked T'Challa. "To kill it. You aim to kill the creator of everything." "I don't believe in that title. There is no one creator of everything, it is a lie. Whatever that creature is, I am sure that it can be killed," said Dr. Spectrum. "I cannot help you, nor would I allow you to kill yourself," said T'Challa. "What does that mean? To destroy the creator of everything you will have to destroy all reality, every atom, every anti-atom, every quark, and have nothing be reborn. All transfer of energy halted and you will be dead mind, body and soul by that time," replied T'Challa. "You are mad," said Dr. Spectrum. "And you are no mass murderer," said T'Challa. T'Challa told the time-space computers home and he was teleported to Wakanda. He left the cold hands of space and reappeared in the cool Wakanda defense building for a meeting. The mystery clan was on his mind since he was still working out how to integrate them properly into Wakandan society. His meeting would be with a representative of the mystery clan, or the Zenzasisa as they called themselves. Geographically, Wakanda had expanded with the introduction of the mystery clan after the events of the multiverse alterations. They lived on new terrain that consisted of never-before-seen flora and fauna. Their military technology worried T'Challa because it was based on time-space collapse. He had those weapons confiscated immediately. That brought great tension between him and the mystery clan's power structure. But the biggest issue for T'Challa was that the mystery clan came from a parallel universe where the White Gorilla clan were the protectors of Wakanda and not the Black Panther clan. The Mystery Clan had a natural affinity for the White Gorilla Clan in T'Challa's universe, and he foresaw serious implications with that. He was informed by the staff that a Mystery Clan member was detained en route to Central City. The measure was necessary for security purposes, as T'Challa had outlined to the Mystery Clan, yet they still ventured out of their territory to explore Wakanda without escorts. Nona was the Mystery Clan's representative. She was 2 years younger than T'Challa and very intelligent. They met alone in a conference room. "I understand that you have detained one of my clansmen. When will he be released?" asked Nona. "As soon as we find out where else he has been and if he acted alone or with others," replied T'Challa. "Are we prisoners in our own country? Does the Zenzasussa need to have identification cards and passes to move about Wakanda? Is that the road you are heading down?" "No. Integration must be systematic and planned long-term," said T'Challa. "Integration with who? The Black Panther clan power structure?" "The Zenzasussa would like to start ties with the White Gorilla Clan," said Nona. "I understand that in your former dimension politically your two clans were close. I will not restrict you from forging that bond in this reality. But I must warn you that the White Gorilla Clan are not same as the one you know of," said T'Challa. "And how would you know that?" "I understand that there is a cold war between your clan and the White Gorillas. The Zenzasussa alliance would bring further complications for you," said Nona. "That is the real reason for these control of movements on my clan." T'Challa took offense. "Nona, I have no time play mind games with the citizens of Wakanda. The Zenzasussa will become a part of the council, will have freedom of movement and will enjoy the inherent benefits of being a Wakandan. Whatever differences there are between the Black Panther and the White Gorilla clans are ineffectual to the wider society." Nona was unfazed. "When will our weapons be returned?" she asked. "Shortly," replied T'Challa. "I need a proper time frame," said Nona. T'Challa saw the need to clarify his position. Every Wakandan has the right to carry weapons up to a certain degree. There is a unified military control of ordinances. It is a form of regulation that the Council agreed to for the greater good of society. "I don't agree. By heritage Zenzasussa are weapon makers, very powerful weapons. We regulate and house our own ordinances. We have trade secrets that your administration is infringing upon." "The Zenzasussa want their weapons back," said Nona. "Is that an ultimatum?" asked T'Challa. "It's whatever you desire it to be," replied Nona. "And if you don't get them back, what then? Did you really think that we handed our weapons over without any fail-safes or countermeasures? Have your techs been able to duplicate our technology or even activate it?" replied Nona. T'Challa grinned. "If you can regulate the movement of your people in the interim, then the weapons can be returned, but under supervision," he said. "I will speak with my council on it," said Nona calmly. "Have you met with our education board and utilities officers?" asked T'Challa. "Yes, they have been helpful in those areas." "How is your clan dealing with the trauma of being uprooted and implanted in this reality?" "It's frustrating, but we have seminars and workshops. Your administration has sent social workers to assist." "Good," said T'Challa. Weeks later the wall would not be static, instead it would be in constant motion on magnetic plates that ran in a loop around the lands of the clan that appeared in Wakanda when God remade the multiverse. Measuring at 100 feet tall and moving at 50 mph, the wall would be connected to the electrical grid that powered the settlements of the Mystery Clan and its kinetic energy harnessed. T'Challa would never permit such a wall to be constructed. Even just watching the drawings inflamed him to tear them down. "There will be no physical walls between the clans in my country," echoed in his mind. But he did not touch the drawings because that might infer to the leader of the Mystery Clan that an intruder visited her council chamber. It was 1 a.m. in the morning and all of Wakanda was supposed to be asleep except for the woman that entered the council chamber. It was Nona, the leader of the mystery clan. She adorned her wrists with bracelets and her hair was like a flower in blossom, showing her overflowing spirit. "I know you are here," she said and turned off the flashlight that she carried. It was just her and T'Challa in the darkness of the council chamber. She seemed brighter in his night vision than in the daylight hours when they met and argued over the integration of her alternate dimension clan into the remade Wakanda. "T'Challa, come out of the dark because I will always know when you are near," she said. "How?" asked T'Challa. "You were my husband in the next dimension. Sadly, the creator of everything did not see it fit to bring the love of my life into this world," replied Nona. "8 months have passed and now you reveal this to me," said T'Challa. "It was unnecessary. I am sorry for your loss. That too is unnecessary. Your sentimentality is misplaced. I cared for my T'Challa but not for the version that I now share company with. I consider you an adversary to my people. That's why you want the wall. The wall is not for my clan, rather it is for the White Gorilla clan. I knew that you had my council meetings under surveillance, so I carefully left hint words for your spy droids to pick up and left these plans in the open to lure you," said Nona. "You dare plot sedition in front of me," said T'Challa. "My clan and the White Gorilla clan, not the Panther clan, ruled Wakanda on my world. Was my doppelganger not of the Panther clan?" "Of course he was. We married in secret," replied Nona and continued, "That's how I know your inner workings, T'Challa. So while we are here speaking, envoys from my clan have sneaked into the White Gorilla clan to meet." "To do what?" asked T'Challa. "You already know," replied Nona. "If you bring harm to anyone through these conspiracies, there will be a heavy price to pay," said T'Challa. "I am not terrified of you. I don't care that you spoke to God while he remade the multiverse." "I don't like you," said Nona. "So be it, citizen," said T'Challa. "And here is a parting insight. You have walled up your world even more since your marriage to the mutant ended. One half of your conscience blames yourself for the failure of the marriage and the other half blames the meeting with God," said Nona. "Now listen carefully to me. I do not want the union of Wakanda's clans to be disrupted by the actions of a minority. Your clan was not the only thing that came from the other side of multiverse into Wakanda. Meaning, there are bigger threats to this country than the distractions of a former queen trying to reclaim some sense of purpose in her life that has turned upside down. There is something alien in Wakanda, and believe me, it is not you." Story, Karnak Chapter 1 Deep Space. The Kree surveillance planetoid. For millions of years we the Kree have developed psychics, and harvested their brains to be used in this facility for our observation of life on other planets across the cosmos, said Supremer. "Basically, it is a clairvoyance telescope," said T'Challa. "If you want to use such a base term for a highly sophisticated form of bioengineering," said Supremer. "I want to focus on Wakanda," said T'Challa as he touched the hologram of Earth in front of him and the leader of the Kree Intergalactic Empire. T'Challa directed Supremer to the region in Wakanda that he was interested in and into the palace of the Mystery Clan's Queen Nona. "Our sensors have detected both a cosmic cube and a Phoenix force," said Supremer. "Can you get closer to them?" asked T'Challa. The hologram showed a complex beneath the palace, and there were 2 children inside, a boy and a girl. They were presumably about 9 years old and probably twins, but what intrigued T'Challa more was that the children resembled him. Then he remembered that Nona mentioned that her husband, on their version of the Earth, was also of the Black Panther clan, but he did not survive the transition to present Earth. "I have found what I wanted," said T'Challa to Supremer. "Now as for payment, we the Kree want to clone you," said Supremer. "Why?" Because you met the Creator of all things in the flesh, and every atom in your body was most likely affected by that event. We want to examine the facets of your atomic structure and store it for reference. That was not the deal T'Challa had in mind when he abruptly appeared on the Kree home planet, on the advice of his friend Galactus the Life-Bringer. "I have something else to give to you," said T'Challa. It was data on his bio-re-engineering of Galactus from a devourer of planets, to a restorer of bioenergies in the planets that he once drained. "We the Kree accept," said the Supremer, a cybernetic organism made from the brains of generations of Kree scholars. Chapter 2 Wakanda, the Jabari clan lands Kana's house. T'Challa revealed the discovery of Nona's children to his sister Shuri and her subordinate in the commando unit, Kana. "I want to use Mother to get Nona to come forth about the matter because they both know what it is like to lose a spouse and having to raise 2 children on their own," said T'Challa. "I don't entirely agree that it is wise to put our mother in such a hostile environment," said Shuri. "I believe that I remind Nona of her husband, and that compounds her grief, so she has taken a negative view of me to shield herself. The children must also be in grief over the loss of their father. Having someone to speak with about these things will be beneficial to them," said T'Challa. "But what happens if that plan fails?" asked Shuri. "I will speak to the children directly. I cannot have a cosmic cube and the Phoenix Force in the country, because it will eventually lead to someone like Thanos coming here to take them. Furthermore, the children's emotional condition has been tied into the amygdala of ordinary people. What will happen when these kids become enraged? Would the world react in the same manner?" replied T'Challa. "Then why haven't our telepaths and mystics sensed these children?" asked Kana. "I don't know. I even went to Professor Xavier and he couldn't find anything. That's why I asked Galactus for assistance," replied T'Challa. "I think now is the best time to say this. Kana and I plan to make our relationship public one day. I understand that you need him as a go-between for the state and the Jabari clan, especially since Nona has allied with the Jabari against you, so for the time being, we will hold off being seen as a couple for now," said Shuri. "Thanks, and I am sorry for trying to interfere with your personal life," said T'Challa. Chapter 3 Ramonda the Queen Mother made a courtesy visit to Nona. Nona did not know whether it was a ploy by T'Challa or a genuine show of respect, so she was cautious. Nona invited her guest to the garden to have light refreshments and chat. She put the Queen Mother's age at 67 years, the demeanor was proud and she spoke eloquently. For 30 minutes their conversation was about the culture of Nona's clan as weapon makers and how that impacted their families and work habits. "Do you have any children?" asked Ramonda. "No," replied Nona. Ramonda dropped the subject and switched to an unimportant story. At first Nona was suspicious that the question was not asked in innocence, then she believed she overreacted. T'Challa could not have found her children because she had misdirected his attention over the last 8 months with the construction of the border wall around her land and her alliance with the Jabari clan. After a further 2 more hours Ramonda finally left and Nona went to her teleportation chamber that she used to send her agents around the world to gather information. Nona was sent to an undersea base in the Philippines where she met the Inhuman called Azza. "You came after all," said Azza. "Thanks for allowing me into your home. Shall we discuss business?" "Of course, let us get right to it. My son Karnak is willing to coach your children here." "And he agreed to act in secret about this?" asked Nona. "Yes." Nona gave her a pouch and said, "These are the Turigen crystals from my earth as promised. A payment for your son's services. When can we expect the children to arrive?" "Tomorrow, and I suggest that you don't look at them as children. Their bodies will not develop into adulthood. That was one of the modifications done to their DNA. They are sentient bioweapons." "That is a cruel way to think of your offspring," said Azza. I can describe them as such since I am also a bioweapon. My father paid the Kree to modify my embryo and I was exposed to the Turigen crystals as a child. My father wanted a specific weapon and he got it in me. Modifying DNA for warfare is wrong, especially in children. I did not expose Karnak to the crystals for that reason. I learned that lesson after my first son, Triton, was made disfigured and reliant on aqua environments to survive when he was exposed, said Azza. I understand your point, but my son and daughter have a responsibility to protect their clan, which they did when they brought us to this new earth. They have not recovered from the ordeal, but I need them to be ready for the next threat of disaster. I see, said Azza. If you are opposed to the metamorphosis, then why did you accept the crystals? My husband is on the genetics council of my people and he is in need of the crystals. You see, our king detonated the crystals. We had to form a mist that swept the planet in a scheme to speed up the process of finding the humans with the inhuman gene, transforming them in order to replenish our ranks. Did it work? Asked Nona. Yes, but the mist was eventually destroyed and my husband lost his reason for being. He no longer had a role in our society. And you would sacrifice your principles just to help him? Are you two separated by chance? Yes, replied Azza. I am also separated from my husband, but I hope to find him soon. Is he missing? Yes, and his children also miss him. I expect your son to teach them to move on. Why don't you use the teachers in your country? Asked Azza. My children are weapons for my use only. I cannot then let them be taught when they are under constant surveillance from my country's leader and the throngs of visitors that come every day from across space, just because he met the creator of all things, replied Nona. Nona returned to the palace and she felt dirty about how she spoke about her children. Still, it needed to done to avoid Azza cuddling them. On this earth the Kree had interfered with the genetics of humans millions of years ago and created the subspecies referred to as the Inhumans. Azza was amongst the first Inhumans that appeared and later rebelled against the Kree. On Nona's Earth her grandfather and father met the Kree on a space expedition and she was the first Kree-human experiment and her father's firstborn. All his subsequent children experiments died. Nona slept on the floor above the underground complex at night so that her children heard her heartbeats and sensed that she loved them. She told them that she met their father when he was selected from a pool of assassins, by the Black Panther clan, to be her personal bodyguard when she met with fellow national leaders that fought against the Hydra America Empire. She decided to marry him after they survived a double cross during the meeting. She was temporarily blinded and he was temporarily deafened for 24 hours as they fought their way through a bombed London city. Her ability to cloak people and objects from detection, and his fighting prowess, led to their escape back to Wakanda. He loved and trusted her so much that he allowed her to experiment on their unborn twins. The last Nona saw of her husband was when he went to get his parents, when the sun suddenly disappeared, and the creator of all things changed the world. Chapter 4 T'Challa stood over Nona while she slumbered. His normal surveillance of her reported that she always slept on the ground of an empty hall. He did not consider much about it until he realized that the complex was directly beneath the hall. However, none of his scanners could determine that the complex even existed. Some primal force made Nona suddenly awaken to his presence. Again, you invade my privacy, she said. Where are the children? I don't have any children. I told your mother that. T'Challa dropped a small ball that he had taken from a room in the complex which he had infiltrated 20 minutes prior. Recognize this? He asked. Get out of my home, said Nona. I do not know how the Cosmic Cube and the Phoenix Force worked in your dimension, but in my world, they court disaster. Your children are harming my planet. Do the responsible thing and let me treat them, said T'Challa. You are delusional, said Nona. I will take that response as a statement of your non-cooperation, and I thereby place you under house arrest for sedition and endangerment to the country. Your teleportation chamber will be sequestered and your military force nullified. You will wear this at all times, said T'Challa as he placed an ankle bracelet on Nona. If your children return, give them this. He placed a gold card in her hand. They will know what it means. Nona was stunned, and he took that opportunity to leave before the confrontation got worse. He asked himself if he was doing the right thing. In the meantime, he would have to recover the deleted coordinates from the teleportation chamber and get the Kree to allow him to use the surveillance planetoid again to find the children. Chapter 5: Az's Undersea Base, the Philippines. Karnak was a warrior priest to his people, the Inhumans. When his parents separated, his father took charge of him at a young age and his mother took charge of his older brother Triton. Having no special abilities from transformation, Karnak's physical strength and mental skills were developed by his father to a never-before-seen level, which made him a formidable combatant in the protection of the Inhumans against their enemies. He taught newly transformed Inhumans self-control at his father's Temple of Wisdom where, originally, exposure to the Turigen crystals was done. Sometimes he wanted to be exposed to the Turigen crystals to find out his true potential. Other times he chose to stay faithful to his mother's wishes and remain untainted. Therefore, Karnak understood why Nona's twins were loyal to her. The girl's name was Uri and she held the Phoenix Force. The boy's name was Ken and he embodied the Cosmic Cube. From Karnak's analysis of the children, their inhuman genes allowed them to absorb both great forces. What Karnak did not understand was why the twins appeared, without warning, the day before their scheduled arrival. The Creator of all things told us, "Come so you can start to teach us," replied Uri. He said that Mother will be notified of our whereabouts, said Ken. How do you know this Creator? Asked Karnak. He brought us to this earth. Did he say why? Asked Karnak. Yes. We are to fight his great adversary, but he said that we are not ready as yet, replied Uri. Who is his adversary? Asked Karnak. Our father. We are still in shock about that, replied the twins. Is your mother aware of this? No, because it will probably kill her, replied the twins. Story: Moriarty the Broken Angel. Chapter 1. 7 months ago, Alabama. The American President's Cities and Towns Tour. In the aftermath of the universe's reconfiguration 3.45 America's President Bollinger stared his Secretary of Defense in the eye. Run that by me again, said Bollinger. Time travelers cannot return to when our universe was recreated, which was 1 month ago. They claim there is a barrier that blocks them in the time stream, said the Secretary of Defense. How does that impact America? Asked Bollinger. Sir, our country's Omega weapon, the Spire project, was powered by fluxes from the entire time stream, and now it is cut off from a majority of that power. America no longer has an Omega weapon to rival Wakanda's Hydra machine or Soberk's Balthazar World Serpent, replied the Secretary of Defense. Furthermore, the time travelers from America's future that bounced off the time stream barrier have appeared in cities and towns disorientated. The FBI has several in custody. They are reported to be dangerous. What do you need from me? Permission to set up a task force to investigate the time stream barrier, replied the Secretary of Defense. Permission denied. Whether it was a rogue cosmic cube, a sentient reality stone, or whatever else, my special advisors can come up with. The entity that T'Challa mentioned does not want anyone traveling back to that moment in time. But how do we know that the same entity that T'Challa spoke of is responsible for the barrier? Asked the Secretary of Defense. I doubt that it could be anyone else. Yes, Mr. President. Also, I want the Chinese Emperor's son monitored to find out if he is still in contact with the creature that took T'Challa to see this creator of all things, said Ballinger. When you say creature you mean Moriarty. Correct, replied Ballinger. What will be our next step if we find Moriarty, Mr. President? T'Challa said that he is not in alliance with Moriarty and considers him an enemy. That is his problem. America is interested in an alliance with Moriarty, replied Ballinger. Chapter 2 Present-day Botswana. Balthazar threw the bull elephant gently into the air and caught it. T'Challa and a spotted leopard looked on from a nearby treetop. T'Challa was surprised that Balthazar looked more human than reptilian. Balthazar laughed as he caught the elephant a second time, but T'Challa sensed a sudden change in him. The giant turned his head to T'Challa's direction and rested the elephant. T'Challa remained relaxed as Balthazar approached the tree. The spotted leopard darted away. "Are you here to fight?" asked Balthazar. "Just to ask you a question," replied T'Challa. "If it is about Soberk, the answer is that we have parted ways," said Balthazar. "My question is about the creator of all things. Did he say anything when he restored you to this form?" "You are freed," those were the words, replied Balthazar. "Well, enjoy it," said T'Challa. "My wife and I are." "Your wife?" "The goddess of the earth," said Balthazar, and he splayed his arms. Suddenly the ground shook as a clay woman emerged from it and grew to Balthazar's height. Then she hugged him. "Where is your wife, T'Challa?" "Where is Ororo?" asked Balthazar. T'Challa did not answer. Instead he told his teleportation amulet computer to transport him to Exon's house. South Korea, Exon's house. T'Challa was glad that Exon had kept her promise to stay away from underworld genetic reconfigurations for the sake of her son, Umba. Umba was Ororo's cousin and T'Challa's former ward. The ecstatic teenager greeted his former guardian and gave T'Challa a gift to be delivered to Umba's long-distance girlfriend in Wakanda, Enzi. Exon took T'Challa to the balcony to discuss the state of the world. "People have stopped living their lives and everyone is in a daze. If it were not for the self-automation services, the society would collapse," said Exon. "Two children with the powers of a cosmic cube and the Phoenix Force are the cause. I am very close to finding them," said T'Challa. "What about Ororo? Will you and her get back together?" "I don't know," replied T'Challa. T'Challa said his goodbyes to the family and he went to the capital of Wakanda. Central City, Wakanda. Aliens on pilgrimage, time travelers seeking answers, and native Wakandans passed a disguised T'Challa on his way to the train. He glanced at the Wakandan space station that vetted the aliens before they were shuttled down to the city. He believed the time loomed when Wakandans would voice their complaints about their quiet country being turned on its head because of his actions again. Even on the train ride, T'Challa sensed the anxiety that the people felt. He got off the train at the latest stop and he teleported to the hider machine. The techno-jungle facility. T'Challa gave Umba's gift to his chief scientist Taku, who was also Enzi's uncle and guardian. "Umba's naked eyes, do they still emit invisible waves that can kill, and is he still blind?" asked Taku. "Yes. I will give him an upgraded computerized visor to shield his eyes on my next visit to him," said T'Challa. "His mutant mother can view the genetics of creatures just by looking at them and is a superb geneticist, as Enzi explained to me. Surely the mother can do something for the boy. Umba does not want to be cured because he considers his condition a gift which he can use to help others," said T'Challa. T'Challa went onto a compacted platform in front of the hider machine. The machine had lost its value as an Omega weapon that could transport land masses to other dimensions because there were hardly any hospitable dimensions left. The machine was relegated to the transport of small objects. "All systems are go," said Taku. "Thank you. Safe trip." "I hope so." The machine hummed and T'Challa was sent to a decaying universe. Chapter 3 The Decaying Universe aka the Negative Zone. T'Challa checked the atom polarity monitor on his wrist to ensure that his positive charged atoms remained shielded against their negative charged counterparts in the negative zone. He risked his life every second that he remained in the negative zone, yet the place was the best chance to nullify known as Cosmic Cube and Phoenix Force children. T'Challa's theory was that the Cosmic Cube and the Phoenix Force drew their abilities from a mostly positive charged universe. If T'Challa removed the Cosmic Cube and the Phoenix Force from the source of their powers, then he would have the advantage over them. He already laid a trap to lure his opponents to the negative zone, and he waited for their arrival. He did not understand the reason that the negative zone was kept after the multiverse reshuffle. The negative zone was dying. Its few stars and uninhabitable planets were slowly pulled to the black hole at the center of the universe. Ororo, if she was with him, would have agreed, he thought. Thinking of her hurt him. Why did she have to leave him after the incident? But there was something that happened during the incident. He met someone besides the creator of all things, a mysterious being called the Progenitor, who was more powerful than Moriarty. A sudden presence approached T'Challa's platform. A peculiar shadow covered the person, so T'Challa was unable to see the face clearly, but when the person addressed him, then T'Challa knew who it was. Progenitor, said T'Challa. How are you coping? By keeping busy. Why are you here and why can't I see your face? I don't naturally have a body, that is why you cannot see my face, and I am in need of your intellect. What do you want? T'Challa asked. The creator of all things can tear the multiverse like paper, but will not lift a finger to put an end to the pain caused by two misguided children. That is not right, and you know it, replied Progenitor. Do you know where the children are? Asked T'Challa. Your friend Karnak has them, replied Progenitor. I see. Now that I have helped you, I need your intellectual assistance in return, said Progenitor. I am listening, said T'Challa. You and I must provide a new reality that people can choose to join instead of staying in this evil-infested one. We will do so with the creation of a new reality matrix that will be an improvement on the first reality stone that I created, said Progenitor. You created the reality stone? Asked T'Challa. Yes. Our new device will not be affected the polarities of universes and will create realities that are outside the partitions made by the creator of all things to house his version of existence. Partitions? Asked T'Challa. T'Challa, there are seals that separate what you know as existence from what truly lies beyond. I have seen them, and you shall too if you accept. I accept, said T'Challa. Will the creator of all things stop us? No, because we will not be interfering with his creations. Where is Moriarty? Serving punishment for his crimes, replied Progenitor. Let me show you. T'Challa saw in a vision Moriarty nailed to the time stream barrier that separated the old multiverse from the new multiverse. Who did that to him? Asked T'Challa. I did, replied Progenitor. Moriarty's mind became rabid after the incident, and I was tasked with his retrieval. Chapter 4 The Inhumans Philippines Underwater Base. Karnak's next lesson for Uri and Kin was strategy. In a fight, your strengths can become weaknesses if your opponent understands strategy better than you do. I will teach you techniques on how to adapt to periods during the fight when the opponent has an advantage over you, said Karnak. Teacher, but I have the power of the Phoenix Force. No one should be able to gain an advantage over me, said Uri. Her 9-year-old body blazed when she spoke. Uri, the Phoenix dies and is then reborn. That means that your abilities can become dormant and then rise up later on. An intelligent opponent will find a way to make that happen and kill you. Your death will make your brother distraught, therefore his reality manipulations will fall apart, which will give the opponent the opportunity to kill him, said Karnak. You make it sound so simple, said Qin. Because it is, a real opponent will be swift and decisive. You must also think like that, said Karnak. Washington, D.C. The White House President Ballinger woke from an odd dream and he immediately telephoned his Secretary of Defense. T'Challa is building a reality stone, said Ballinger. Who is the source of this intel, Mr. President? The Angel Moriarty, replied Ballinger. What are your orders, sir? T'Challa must be stopped ASAP. I want everyone working on this. T'Challa the Black Panther in Engineering Reality PTI Chapter 1 on a now-dead alternate Earth Wakanda. 8 months ago T'Challa, with 2 tree logs on his shoulders, ran up and down the slope next to Warrior Falls. His children, Kin and Uri, watched him. T'Challa named his son Kin because of his limitless ability to create almost anything that he imagined. He named his daughter Uri, meaning rebirth, because she was the phoenix that could destroy and resurrect. The kids were curious to know where he went to at 5 a.m. on mornings, so he brought them to see his training regime as a Black Panther clan assassin. T'Challa finished his training set and he lifted his children onto his shoulders. Daddy, don't you get tired like the other humans? Uri asked. When I was 2 years old I did, but by 3 I was already training, so I don't get tired like other people, T'Challa replied. You are being ridiculous, right? Asked Uri. Read my mind, said T'Challa, and his daughter expressed her shock at what she saw telepathically. Did Uri and I train when we were 3? Kin asked. You were kept in cocoons after your mother gave birth. For how long? Asked the twins. A very long time. T'Challa avoided the details of the Wakanda Kree experiment that was done on his twins with his answer. Their mother Nona and him would have to decide when it would be best to reveal to the twins that they will never physically or mentally age beyond their 9-year-old appearance. T'Challa took the kids to the air transport and he tested their raw powers. Kin turned the plane into a bird, said T'Challa. His sun glowed and the aircraft was replaced by an enormous mechanical ostrich. Let me try too please daddy, said Uri. T'Challa allowed her and the ostrich was turned into a flaming hawk. Very good, said T'Challa. The twins would be able to shape and make worlds with more training. Kin transformed the bird back into the plane and T'Challa took them to the secret complex that was beneath the mother's palace. The twins did not need to travel by plane since they could teleport, but they wanted the experience of watching their father pilot the aircraft. There was no electricity in the complex and only a few fire pans provided light. Nona called the place Namore Tunga. She said that its origins was unknown to her. T'Challa played with the twins until the kids suddenly stopped and they closed their eyes. Something is happening to the universe, said the twins. Their mother came into the complex to get T'Challa. We have a problem, said Nona when they left the twins. All the suns in the universe have just died. It was confirmed with the Kree and the other galactic empires. T'Challa had just seen the sunrise before he entered the complex, so the news was peculiar to him. He exited the palace to find the world in darkness again, as though an eclipse had occurred. Stay with the children. I will personally check on the other clans and get my parents here, said T'Challa. Suddenly, a grey light engulfed everything and T'Challa's spirit told him that he was going to die. I will take you. The strange voice that T'Challa heard felt more spiritual than physical. There was an evil intent in the tone of the voice. I am T'Challa, Chief Assassin. I know who you are, T'Challa, that is why I chose you, said the voice. A moment later, T'Challa's soul was extracted from his body and it was destroyed in the light. The husk of the body was taken over by the progenitor. Chapter 2. The progenitor touched his new face and was satisfied with it. Then the creator of all things interrupted him. What have you done? Asked the creator of all things. I wanted to understand why you chose the original T'Challa as the test subject in which to judge existence, so I have taken the form of his doppelganger. Are you mad? Have you not done enough already? Then kill me like you have done to this universe and billions like it. Not before you say sorry for your wrongdoings and admit that you did not know everything. You are the insane one. I will never say those words to you. Kill me now. The children of the man's body that you have stolen will do the deed after the words that I mentioned are said. What are these children? 2 of your creations that were meant to spite me. Which one? I created the Infinity Stones, the Beyonders, the Cosmic Cubes and the Phoenix Force. They were not meant to spite you but to show the universes that they did not need you. I will step back in time and find these children. I sealed off that particular point in time so not even you can travel back, said the creator of all things. Is this a contest, Father? Very well, I will find these children before they destroy me, said Progenitor. For 8 human months, Progenitor roamed through the handful of universes that remained in search of the children. Eventually, the test subject, T'Challa of the First Earth, found the children and inadvertently led Progenitor to them. But Progenitor discovered that he could not directly harm the children, so he disguised himself and offered to help T'Challa if the Black Panther accepted to assist him in upgrading the Infinity Stone that warped reality. Progenitor used the reality warper as bait since T'Challa wanted to find a solution to remove the children from his planet. But Progenitor's goal was for T'Challa to eventually destroy the children on his behalf. Chapter 3 Present day on the First Earth, the Inhumans Undersea Base Philippines. Bolt Agon aka Black Bolt had to make a decision that would test his friendship with T'Challa. As king of the humans that were born with Kree-manipulated genes, Bolt Agon was responsible for their well-being even if they came from an alternate Earth like the Nona twins. Bolt Agon was led by his cousin Karnak into the gymnasium where the twins trained. The boy and girl resembled T'Challa, which startled Bolt Agon. His mind went back to a couple of hours ago when the US President Ballinger requested that the children not be handed over to T'Challa. Ballinger argued that there was no independent assessment to substantiate T'Challa's claim that the twins' negative emotional state impacted on regular humans, and secondly, T'Challa was building a universal reality warper. Giving him the twins would add to that power which no one man should have. Bolt Agon watched the twins as they meditated. He sensed the refinement in the energy that they gave off. He guessed that it was due to Karnak's secret training that he just became aware of. T'Challa told them to surrender to him in 24 hours, said Karnak. Bolt Agon said no with a shake of the head, but it had nothing to do with the US president. The twins' mother, Nona, had engineered a political armor of sort. In exchange for training her children, Nona had given Bolt Agon's people Turigen crystals from her alternate Earth. These crystals were vital to the survival of the Inhumans, and they came at a time when there were none on the present Earth, which made Bolt Agon grateful to Nona. Bolt Agon decided that a diplomatic means to end the standoff was to send messengers to Wakanda. One messenger would go to T'Challa and the other to Nona, where she resided with her clan that had mysteriously appeared in Wakanda after the creator of all things had altered the multiverse. Chapter 4 Dinosaur, Colorado, USA. The abandoned hometown of Owen Reese. T'Challa was inundated with messages from the scientific community that were against him building a reality warper. They cited that it was too soon to tamper with universal mechanics just when the creator of all things had made changes and it might anger him. T'Challa disagreed with the comments, but he was puzzled as to how the reality warper became public knowledge when it was discussed privately between him and the progenitor in the negative zone dimension 72 hours ago while he was laying a trap for the twins. Who did the progenitor speak with concerning the matter, or were they spied on? T'Challa put the thought to the back of his mind. He was on the trail of a lead to the twins' location if Bolt Agon was not cooperative and if the twins failed to surrender in the allotted time. T'Challa learnt of Owen Reese from his time on the Avengers Vigilante Squad. Reese was a timid person until he was experimented on by Beyonders, and then he became a cosmic cube in human form. The power made Reese mentally ill, with only his hometown being a tenuous link to his humanity, even though he had killed and scared away the inhabitants. The state demolished the town once only to find it rebuilt the next day. Since then it was left alone. A few hours ago, the twins killed Owen Reese in front of T'Challa halfway across the world. T'Challa wanted to see if Owen may have rematerialized in his home. T'Challa entered the living room where he met Carol Danvers, Adam Brashear, and Monica Rambeau waiting for him. They were not there for Reese, it was T'Challa that they were after. To answer the question in your mind about how we found you, I traced your bioenergy, said Adam. And I brought them here at light speed, said Monica. Why are you in Middle America, T'Challa, in the home of a known reality manipulator? Does this have to do with your reality warper? Asked Carol. I don't have time for this, said T'Challa. You never do. We have orders to neutralize and sabotage your project, but as colleagues on past Avengers teams we are giving you a chance to rethink your present course of action, said Carol. It is just too soon to be interfering with that part of existence, said Adam. 3 or 5 years from now would be better. The twins' mother has a weapon that she intends to mass produce tomorrow that can dematerialize targets based on DNA in a range as wide as Colorado. That is one example of the arsenal that we have never seen in this universe that she can make. I have to relocate her, the clan and the twins from this universe, said T'Challa. That should be a UN decision, said Monica. They are Wakandans, so it is my decision, said T'Challa. T'Challa, the people in charge are concerned that your actions may bring back the creator of all things, said Monica. They are frightened by it. I am not, said T'Challa. He sensed that Carol had heard enough and was about to take action. These 3 US military officers could knock out the Hulk, so he had one chance to neutralize this ultimate team. T'Challa teleported the team and himself into the negative zone. Chapter 5: The Negative Zone, aka the Antimatter Universe. T'Challa activated his wristband, which normalized his positive molecules. Adam, Monica, and Carol were temporarily caught off guard as they drifted in the darkness. You made a mistake, T'Challa. This is an antimatter realm and my body thrives on antimatter. You made me stronger, said Adam. I need you to be strong to save Monica. Remember, she is light in human form, and at the center of the negative zone is a black hole that sucks in all light, said T'Challa. Oh my goodness, Adam, said Monica as her movement away from the group accelerated. Adam went after her and they disappeared. How could you? Asked Carol, and she grabbed T'Challa's forearm, almost tearing it off. He slipped the wristband onto her hand as a distraction. Afterwards he teleported back to the house. The teleportation computer amulet shorted out and rebooted. T'Challa slumped to the floor to catch his breath. He contacted one of the scientists that had left messages for him, Dr. Reed Richards, the discoverer of the negative zone. Captain Marvel, Spectrum and Blue Marvel are stranded in the negative zone, said T'Challa. How did they get there? Asked Reed. I put them there. You need to get them out, said T'Challa, and he ended the call. A shadow came over him and he looked up to see the hazy figure of the progenitor. You have some explaining to do, said T'Challa. For what? Everyone knows about the reality warper. How did the info get leaked? Asked T'Challa. I do not know, replied progenitor. I thought you knew everything, said T'Challa. I don't, said progenitor. Why are you here? Owen Reese is an associate of mine and I can no longer sense him, replied progenitor. This is where we part ways, cause no associate of Reese can be an associate of me, said T'Challa. Don't be so hasty. I created Reese. I had no control of what he did after. The Beyonders created him. Under my instruction, said progenitor. T'Challa tried again to remember the conversation he had with the progenitor and the creator of all things when they first met, but he couldn't. The twins killed him, said T'Challa. Progenitor looked around the house. Something odd is taking place here. I will contact you soon. Don't, said T'Challa. Progenitor faded away and T'Challa called the Wakandan base in America to have a plane sent for him. He was informed by the base that an inhuman emissary waited for him in Wakanda. Also the person said T'Challa had met her before in the blue area of the moon. Nanette, thought T'Challa as he remembered the woman. Chapter 6 Wakanda, Central City. You are with the Inhumans, said T'Challa. Apparently I have Kree-altered DNA and the artifact that I touched on my alternate Earth was Turigen related, said Nanette. What is the message from Bolt Agon? Asked T'Challa. He understands your concerns about the children. He too is interested in the safety of the planet. However, the children have become integral to the Inhumans. As such, he proposes that the children be taken to an Inhuman outpost in the solar system. Tell him that I cannot accept. The twins' mother has made herself a new player in the galactic political system. The safety of her children is now in question as they can be used as pawns and bargaining chips. I plan to relocate the children to a healthy environment away from this universe. Your response will be delivered, said Nanette. She went from in front of the office desk to his side. She sat on his thigh and hugged him. There is talk that your actions will lead to the reappearance of the creator of all things. Not everyone is against that as he has to answer for the universes that were destroyed which displaced people like me, said Nanette and continued, we are ready to stand with you. It is not necessary, said T'Challa. Nanette used her telekinesis powers to unlock the face shield of the Black Panther ceremonial uniform. T'Challa permitted it. I can find out the exact location of the children for you, she said. I need to go through the proper channels else a war will break out between Wakanda and the Inhumans. I do not want that, said T'Challa. Do you want me to return? Asked Nanette. Yes. Nanette departed and as T'Challa was himself about to leave the office he was visited by his embedded spy in Nona's camp, the ghost of Svani. What is it? Asked T'Challa. I thought it was best that I speak to you directly and not through the mystics department. It is about your political appointee, Kana. Nona has a file on him and it states that Kana tried to assassinate her. Thank you for keeping this between us, said T'Challa. Svani disappeared. T'Challa returned to his chair and sighed. Kana, how could you have done this to me? He said under his breath. T'Challa the Black Panther in Engineering Reality PT2 Chapter 1 We are ready to stand with you Earth Adalan, the floating city of the Inhumans. T'Challa broke into Nanette's skyscraper apartment and he located her files on the team of displaced individuals from dead alternate Earths. There were names in the files like Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, Hyperion, Reedmaker Richards, Maestro the Hulk and Nighthawk. His hypersense of smell alerted him to Nanette's presence outside of the windowless apartment, so he activated the invisibility mode of his Black Panther uniform. The apartment wall that faced the city was pulled out, then Nanette flew inside. She used telekinesis to return the wall to its proper place. We need to talk, said T'Challa as he deactivated the invisibility mode. How did Nanette stop herself? I am concerned that your team might clash with some of my friends and colleagues, said T'Challa. Then your friends should not have chosen to oppose your creation of a reality warper, said Nanette. It is not only meta-humans that oppose me, elder gods and cosmic entities may join the fray. I have encountered them over the last several months, and they too are afraid of the Creator of all things. Since everyone except for me is of the opinion that the reality warper will trigger the return of the Creator, a confrontation between those who are for me and those against me will end in disaster. It is our choice to stand with you, said Nanette. I have given you fair warning, said T'Challa. You came all the way from Wakanda to say that? Here I thought that you wanted to see me again, said Nanette. She put her arms around his neck. So what do you think of my apartment? I hope that you kept everything neat. Nanette was an Egyptian with a background in archaeology based on the documents that T'Challa went through and the diagrams on the walls. She made notes on the differences between the Egyptian pyramids on this earth and the ones that were on the alternate earth that she came from. How did you get to this world? Asked T'Challa. I was on a mission here on behalf of my original team when the Creator of all things destroyed them. My condolences. Thank you. I have to leave now. Can't you spare an hour? I don't have the time. Then make the time. When last did you smile or enjoy life? Asked Nanette. 60 minutes, that is all I am asking for. Chapter 2 Quantum Chaos. Nanette gave T'Challa a surprised expression after she woke and saw that he was still in her bed. What is wrong? He asked. I expected you to be gone, and the thanks for the memories note on the pillow, she replied and asked, what time is it? Noon, replied T'Challa. But seriously, why are you still here? Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that you stayed. Still, I am curious. I was thinking about us, and about how things will unfold with the reality warper. Do you have doubts? I wanted the warper to solve one particular problem, and that has led to other problems mushrooming. Plus I am running out of time, replied T'Challa. Please don't back out now. Are you sure the Creator of all things will give you a chance to vent at him? Asked T'Challa. I have an engineer working on a craft that can get close to this Creator. He is working off of theories that came up in your UN testimony about the encounter with this Creator, replied Nanette. This Creator? You are still not convinced that he is authentic? When I meet him, then I will know if he is fake or not. There might be consequences for that. I expect them. He might vaporize me on sight, but that is the least he can do after taking my world from me, said Nanette. Have you considered that this is a second chance at life that has been afforded to you? So why me out of the billion people that were in my world? That question has to be answered by him, said Nanette. And if he does not appear? I don't know what will happen then. I may try something to get his attention. That is a self-destructive path, said T'Challa. Not from my point of view. T'Challa sensed that she was aware that her actions endangered their fledgling relationship. When is the reality warper expected to be completed? She asked. Soon. Not to get into specifics, but how does it work? Reality warping is based on changing subatomic frequencies. The mind is generally the agent that can affect a frequency for a single person. A reality warper amplifies that phenomenon to more than one person. That is a lot of power to have. I trust that you will use it wisely, said Nanette. I don't have a choice, too much is at stake, said T'Challa. Nanette kissed him. I will make some tea for us, she said. T'Challa stayed a few more minutes and then he left. Europe, Mount Woundagari, the prison of Than. T'Challa teleported into the remains of the citadel that was on the mountain summit. He brought 5 floating hard cases that contained equipment. The groundskeeper stopped him, but upon recognizing who it was, allowed T'Challa to set up the gear. I never thought that I would meet the man who saw the Creator of all things face, said the groundskeeper. I did not actually see his face, said T'Challa. By the way, what are you doing here? I am going to take piece of Thin's chaos energy, replied T'Challa. T'Challa, you cannot do that. Thin may break free. I know, that's why I brought the safety equipment. What will you do with the chaos energy? Warp reality. Have you done this before? No, but you should stand back and shield your eyes since there will be an atomic-like flash. T'Challa neglected to tell Nanette that a major flaw in reality warpers was that the human spirit can detect when a reality was artificial. It was also the reason that a reality warper made in one dimension would not work in another. T'Challa intended to fix that problem by focusing on the spiritual nature of reality. Thin was the godlike entity that first harnessed chaos energy to alter reality, which he later transferred to the mutant Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. She was a former colleague of T'Challa that he spied on when he initially joined the Avengers Vigilante Squad. T'Challa used his notes on the Scarlet Witch as the starting point for his reality warper design. T'Challa siphoned a small amount of chaos energy from Mount Woundaggery that would be used to synthesize more with the aid of the mystical properties of vibranium. He left Earth and traveled to the abandoned ship of a cedar that resided in the elastic buffer between dimensions, otherwise known as the Superflow. The ship was another relic from his time with the Avengers. T'Challa now focused on accessing the universal spiritual harmonics that existed in all dimensions. He incorporated the rhythm patterns into the programming of the chaos energy. The next step was the creation of a telepathic interface between the reality warper and its user. T'Challa based the interface on Charles Xavier's cerebro computer that joined the thoughts of a human with a machine. The final step was the encasement. The warper had to be easily deployable and small enough to carry. The problem was solved by placing piece of the superflow around the warper. Now he had to find a place to hide it. Chapter 3: A Changed Man. The office of Ororo Monroe, headmaster of the X-Men. T'Challa waited patiently in his ex-wife's office. She had not done much to change the layout since she took over from Charles Xavier. Ororo entered and paused. T'Challa turned in his chair to see her. She had a passive look on her face. Then she slowly came over to her desk. "It is nice to see you," Ororo said as she took her seat. "Same here," said T'Challa. "Are you here for a specific reason or is this personal?" "If it is personal then I don't have the time for it," said Ororo. T'Challa placed a gem-like object on the desk. "I want you to keep this for me. It is a reality warper that I made," he said. "Why can't it stay in Wakanda? There is too much surveillance and I am being tracked by great entities," replied T'Challa. "I have to consider the safety of the school," said Ororo. "I understand." He reached for the warper just as Ororo said wait and reached for it also. Their hands met and T'Challa felt that love was still there in her touch. But there was also the reality that their paths had to diverge. The X-Men leadership had spiraled into chaos post the appearance of the creator of all things. Ororo had to take on full-time leadership to protect her species. She also claimed that T'Challa had changed. He did not understand what she meant by that, and all she could say was that his soul was different. Therefore their marriage ended. T'Challa removed his hand from the desk and Ororo took the warper. "How will it be retrieved if needed?" asked Ororo. "It will come automatically to me and only I can access it," replied T'Challa. "How are Shuri and Kana?" "Kana made a wrong decision that has placed their relationship on the rocks. We will see how that goes. Nevertheless, tell Shuri hello for me." "I will, and thanks. One other thing. The children that you are hunting, I understand that one has the Phoenix Force." "The girl," said T'Challa. "Is she a mutant?" "All the evidence points to her being genetically modified with Kree technology which makes her an inhuman," replied T'Challa. Recently the X-Men intercepted messages from a mutant anti-human group that were interested in purchasing weapons from the new Wakandan clan. Do you know anything about that? The children's mother, Nona, has started to produce arms from her former alternate Earth. I created the reality warper to safely relocate her and the children to prevent any further harm to the planet, replied T'Challa. Wakanda, the mystery clan, the Namor Tunga complex beneath Nona's palace. I came to apologize for Kana's action, said T'Challa. Nona lay in the darkness on the step where her children once played. He confessed to the attempted assassination, asked Nona. Yes. What will be his punishment? That is a decision for the court to decide. Nona stood and quickly wiped the traces of tears from her eyes. It is time to call your children home. I have created a means where you can live a life free of interference from me, said T'Challa. Where? In another universe where you will rule Wakanda again. Do you accept? He extended his hand for her to shake it. Nona hesitated as she thought about the offer, then she shook T'Challa's hand. Accepted, she said. Unbeknownst to T'Challa and Nona was that the giant figure of Progenitor loomed over them. The Progenitor was pleased that the children's destruction was one step closer to reality, just as he had engineered it to be. T'Challa the Black Panther in Strange Fire, the Jabari clan term for an anomaly. Chapter 1 Panther Island, Caribbean Sea. The warrior priest Karnak was one of the first Inhumans that T'Challa had ever met. It was not a pleasant encounter. They fought, and since then there was a smoldering rivalry between them. So T'Challa was taken aback when Panther Island was chosen as the place where Nona's children would be handed over to him by Karnak, because it was there that the Black Panther and the Inhumans' feud started. Panther Island was tiny compared to its Greater Antilles neighbors. It was owned by Wakanda and used as a safe haven for operatives in the past. Nona, queen of the Mystery Clan, waited alongside T'Challa on the beach. Will there be seas like this in the reality that you will create? Asked Nona. Yes, replied T'Challa. I am taking a leap of faith. Do not prove me wrong, said Nona. T'Challa said nothing in reply. He was relieved to have the situation with the children and Nona resolved. Karnak and the twins teleported onto the beach. Mommy, said the 9-year-olds as they flew to Nona. She hugged them and kissed their foreheads. Now let me see you at attention, said Nona. The twins straightened up and floated in front of her. Were they any trouble during the training? She asked Karnak. No, but there was an instance when they left on their own accord, replied Karnak. T'Challa saw where this was leading to. The children were ordered by the creator of all things to find and destroy another living cosmic cube. They met you there, said Karnak as he turned his attention to T'Challa. Did they say why the creator of all things gave that instruction? Asked T'Challa. No, and also he told them that their father was his adversary, said Karnak. What? Exclaimed Nona. She held the twins. Is this true? Yes, Mommy. T'Challa was concerned by the revelation because it meant that the creator of all things was an active participant behind the scenes when everyone else, including himself, thought otherwise. It also meant that his doppelganger, the kid's father, was also a part of the mystery. The only person who might be able to shed light on what was really taking place would be Moriarty. But he was imprisoned on the barrier in the time stream that separated the old multiverse from the new one, thought T'Challa. He turned to Nona. Do you want to get to the bottom of this? He asked. Yes, she replied. T'Challa explained that he needed the twins to take him into the time stream for him to speak with Moriarty. Who imprisoned him there? Asked Nona. The progenitor, replied T'Challa. Nona thought it over and agreed, but on the condition that Karnak went along. I will not leave my children alone in your hands, said Nona to T'Challa. Okay, said T'Challa. Karnak agreed to Nona's request. You can stay in the safe house in the meantime, said T'Challa. No, said Nona, and then she spoke to the twins. Take me back to the Namore Tunga complex. I will wait for you there. Yes, Mommy, said the twins. They touched her shoulders and she vanished. Karnak and I will need a customized craft to shield us, said T'Challa. Karnak taught us how to build such things in a snap in case we needed to evacuate people, said the boy, Kin. His sister Uri flew next to Karnak and said, We will always remember you. T'Challa explained how they will get to the time stream barrier and then the group left. Chapter 2. Kin combined his cosmic cube abilities with his sister's Phoenix Force to create a platform that had an invisible stasis field on the top of it, and the group stood inside of the field. The platform traveled along the time stream at a speed that T'Challa calculated so as to avoid a collision with the time barrier. Moriarty is pinned simultaneously to all the remaining alternate realities' time barriers so he may communicate with us in a disjointed manner, said T'Challa. Why haven't you tried to free him? Asked Karnak. He deserves to be there for all the things that he has done, replied T'Challa. So then you side with Progenitor, said Karnak. Progenitor is dubious and I don't align myself to him. It was him that told me that the twins were in your care, said T'Challa. Interesting, said Karnak. We have arrived, said the twins. There was darkness around the platform and T'Challa shouted Moriarty's name into it. T'Challa, protect the children. Progenitor wants to destroy them, said a faint voice in the darkness. Do not interfere with the multiverse with your reality stone, because my father shall imprison you for it. But the children and their mother are unknowingly harming the earth. I cannot allow that to continue, said T'Challa. Are the children's father alive? I do not know, replied Moriarty. Progenitor said that he placed you here under orders from the creator of all things, said T'Challa. He is a liar. He put me here when I refused to join forces with him to harm the children. Both he and I were in Wakanda observing the new clan, said Moriarty. For some reason he attempted to harm the children and I disagreed because they were anomalies that needed to be studied. And from this prison I saw when he told you about warping reality. I parted ways with Progenitor long before I built my reality warper. He had no input, said T'Challa. Wakanda, Mystery Clan, the Namore Tunga complex beneath Nona's palace. The meeting was inconclusive, said T'Challa. Karnak, is this true? Asked Nona. Yes, replied Karnak. T'Challa will be imprisoned if he changes the multiverse, said Kin. It is conjecture, said T'Challa. So you will still do it? Asked Nona. Of course, replied T'Challa. But who will run Wakanda if you are taken? Asked Nona. Things are in place, replied T'Challa. You mean Shuri, said Nona and continued, I will give you time to get your affairs in order. It is not necessary, said T'Challa. My children and I will not go with you until I am certain that this Wakanda is not left in a vulnerable state, said Nona. You are acting rashly, said Karnak to T'Challa. The word rashly made T'Challa remember Kana's attempt to assassinate Nona on the notion that she was an immediate threat to the citizens of Wakanda. By doing so, Kana had jettisoned his love affair with Shuri, T'Challa's trust, his good name and his Jabari clan ties for a nationalistic ideal. Come with me, said T'Challa to Karnak, and then the Black Panther said to Nona, I will be back shortly. Central City, the commando unit headquarters. Shuri was looking over the file of the officer Okoye as a possible replacement for Kana. Kana's downfall was so swift that Shuri did not have time to process it her in heart. She loved him, but he had broken the law. Assassination of any official, even if they came from an alternate reality, was punishable by death. Conspiracy to assassinate carried a 30 years sentence of hard labor 1 mile down below Serpent Valley shoveling ore. Khanna was given the latter by the court-martial judge because the assassination failed. But the judge was not told the name of the person targeted for assassination. He made his decision based on the information that Shuri gave. Her subordinate had undertaken an unsanctioned OP and failed to eliminate the target. It was the best that Shuri could have done to hide that Nona was the target. If word ever got out that Khanna tried to kill a fellow Jabari clan member, then it would be a disaster for him and the Black Panther clan. She received a message on her Kimoyo from T'Challa. He wanted to know her location. She replied that she was in the office. T'Challa and Karnak teleported into the office. She recognized Karnak from her files. T'Challa introduced Shuri to Karnak and then related their visit to Moriarty. Shuri was concerned that her brother insisted on using the reality warper even though he was warned against it, but T'Challa was stubborn. Karnak will do a psychological evaluation of Khanna, said T'Challa. Shuri raised an eyebrow. She recalled that Karnak had an acute sense of analysis that was renowned in the universe. He was given the moniker of the man who saw the flaw in anything. She did not see what good it would do in Khanna's case. I am listening, said Shuri. Tell Karnak what we know on Khanna's psych profile. I will be back shortly, said T'Challa, and he teleported. Shuri understood that he had to be constantly teleporting to elude the tracking of cosmic entities. Have a seat, said Shuri, and Karnak obliged. She was not comfortable with divulging classified information with a stranger. Shuri said, Khanna is 24 years old. Professionally, he saved the Earth once when he was on a now-defunct Fantastic Four offshoot team. He was an elite commando. T'Challa had appointed him to speak on behalf of his Jabari clan at council meetings, and he was a part of T'Challa, Storm, and myself inner circle. On a personal level, Khanna was ostracized by his clan and dubbed Strange Fire. Reason being, Khanna trusted T'Challa and loved his country above all else. He fell out with his father some time ago and lived in a spare house in his uncle's compound. T'Challa wanted me find out why Khanna resorted to extremism, said Karnak. Shuri caught on to T'Challa's intention. T'Challa wanted Khanna reinstated in case he was indeed imprisoned. Do you know what event shaped his nationalistic belief system? Asked Karnak. I don't follow, said Shuri. Take me for instance. My verve for the inhuman nation was cemented when we battled the Kree when I was a child. Where was Khanna's passion for Wakanda born? The Jabari clan did not assimilate into the society, but why did Khanna? Solve that mystery and then the full picture of Khanna will develop, said Karnak. Shuri had to admit to herself that even though she slept with Khanna, much about him was indeed a mystery. The irony with the Jabari clan was their numbering system. The Fana monk assisted Wakanda's technological advancement, yet the clan insisted on living a traditional lifestyle that was more close to nature than any of the other clans. In recent memory, the Jabari clan only joined with the rest of Wakanda to fight against the Thanos-led alien invasion. Khanna was not on her radar at that time. She might have been on his since he pursued the relationship with her. Something else came to Shuri's mind. If Khanna was brought back, what will stop him from repeating the act of going against authority again? He already did it twice with his father and T'Challa. If he was returned, then it could not be in the same capacity as before. Shuri broke out of the train of thought when she became self-conscious that Karnak looked at her intently. Is there something wrong? Shuri asked. Why aren't you a tech genius like your brother? T'Challa honed his tech skills to be able to capture the man who assassinated our father. I went down a different path, replied Shuri. I see, said Karnak. Is there something you want to add? I am looking at you and I see so much more potential. You are here to discuss Khanna and not me. I understand, said Karnak. Okay. Is there anything else? Karnak wanted to see the Jabari clan profile pictures and the blood work for Kana. Shuri brought up holograms of the items on her desk. T'Challa returned and asked if progress was made. Lots, said Karnak. Kana's mother is a mutant. She kept him at a distance. He was ridiculed as a boy for being shorter than the average Jabarian, hence his social disassociation from the group. He filled the void of his mother's lack of affection with that of love for the motherland. Since the Black Panther clan controls the power structure of the motherland, he gravitated to Shuri to be close with both power and an overflowing sense of patriotism. But the flaw was that all this activity was due to the missing piece of the mother's connection to him. His extremism was a physical demonstration to prove himself to the motherland, which he had substituted for his mother's love. Are you sure that his mother is a mutant? Asked Shuri. At the Temple of Wisdom, where I teach new Inhumans on how to use their gifts, I have seen all manner of genetics, and my father is the chief geneticist. So yes, am I 100% sure Kana has a mutant mother, replied Karnak. And your tone of voice changed every time his name was mentioned, which meant that's enough, said T'Challa. One more thing, Kana's emotional independence is very valuable him. He may accept charity but feels no binds to it if there is a clash with his belief system, said Karnak. Shuri leaned back into her chair when she heard the word charity used in that context. She had not looked at the treatment of Kana that way. Did he consider her love charity? Karnak has been a tremendous help, brother. Thanks for bringing him by, said Shuri. I need Kana on standby within the next several hours, said T'Challa. I will see to it, said Shuri. She sensed that based on Karnak's analysis, T'Challa had forgiven Kana. Could she do the same? Chapter 3 The Jabari clan, Northern Wakanda. Shuri landed her plane in front of the Kana family compound and it caused a commotion. She wore a ceremonial outfit and carried a gift. Jabarians were giants. The average height was 6 feet 7. Several of these giants blocked Shuri and demanded to know why the Black Panther clan woman was there. I am here to speak with my father and mother-in-laws, replied Shuri, and that shut everyone up. Shuri went into the courtyard and waited. The father and mother came out. The mother wore a strange attire. Her head covering had 2 pieces of tusks that hung on both sides, and armored plates were in her suit. Where is Strange Fire? Asked the father. Do you mean Kana? Asked Shuri. We don't speak his name here, said the father. Your son is detained at present, but he sends his regards, said Shuri. I have brought this gift for his mother. Jabari and Black Panther don't mix, said the mother. We did once, said Shuri, and it has happened again. The creator of all things recreated the world, and we as humans should at least try to start over broken relationships in this new world. The mother and father exchanged glances. You know that can't happen here, said the father. That is the reason I want my mother-in-law to teach me the Jabari ways, said Shuri. The mother stepped towards Shuri. Shuri knelt and offered up the gift. Did Strange Fire tell you what I am? Asked the mother. Yes. By law all mutants must be registered, so he hid that from me to protect you. Only now did he reveal it, replied Shuri. I am part mutant and part something else. All I have are sons, and Kana is the eldest. His wife was supposed to receive my gifts in order for it to remain in the family. It is tradition, and it is the only reason that I will teach you, said the mother, and she accepted the gift. Serpent Valley Iron Ore Unit. 1 mile beneath the surface, Kana was 6'1" and athletically built. He made twice as much buckets of ore than the average man. He had a charismatic charm that the other workers liked. It was all show though, as deep down Kana missed Shuri, and the more he dismissed her from his mind, the harder he worked. His supervisor called him to the office that was on the top level of the self-contained mine. Oxygen, electricity, food, and water were manufactured on the second level. The living quarters were on the third and the ore on the fourth. The ore was liquefied and pumped to the surface. Kana was stopped by an officer on the third level. "Kana, it is me," said Shuri as she deactivated a hologram mask. "Where is your room?" Kana took her to it and she took off the rest of the disguise to reveal her commando suit. She showed this carefree side of her personality only to him. "What are you doing here?" asked Kana. She placed a beaded bracelet in his hand. "You have to ask me to marry you," replied. "Do it quickly." "Why?" "Because your parents think we already are. I spoke with your mother and she sends her regards, but she does not know exactly where you are." "Shuri, you are not making sense. Do you love me, Kana?" "Yes." "Do you trust me with your life?" "Yes." "Then trust me." Kana tied the beads around her wrists. "Shuri of the Black Panther clan, will you be my wife?" "Yes." "So what now?" "Your mother wants a word with you and T'Challa needs us to take charge of the country if the creator of all things imprisons him for using the reality warper to relocate Nona." "Oh," said Kana. "I needed to see your mother first because of the logistics. Coming here first would have taken up too much time," said Shuri. "I should be angry that you lied to my mother, but I was told as a child that the Black Panther clan are mischievous people," said Kana. "So you know about my mother's powers?" "She is going to start giving them to me," said Shuri. T'Challa the Black Panther in Namor Tunga Chapter 1, 12 miles above Wakanda, Shuttle 257 Commander Okoye was homesick. She imagined waking up next to her boyfriend in his home, the warm Wakanda weather blowing through an open window, and the aroma of Okoye was rocked out of the daydream by turbulence as the shuttle descended from the military space station. She turned around in her seat to check her squad of 12 commandos. The tired women were drowsy. They were the survivors of the Tellerson affair on the Orion Belt. The natives of the Orion Belt called the women Death's wives and adored their fighting prowess. The Wakanda generals found out about the nicknames and officially dubbed the group the Dorum Mileage. Okoye made herself comfortable in her seat and stared at the southeast of Wakanda that was outside of her window. The snippets of news that she heard from Wakanda while on tour focused on the Mystery Clan and their queen Nona. She was a threat in Okoye's opinion. A few minutes later the shuttle made its final descent to the spaceport. The squad disembarked and they had 3 weeks to be with their loved ones until the next tour. A classified message was given to Okoye which changed her plans. The Commando Division's leader Shuri wanted to interview her immediately. The Commando Division headquarters, Central City. Okoye was inspired by Shuri despite being 4 years older than her. The reason was that Shuri was wise beyond her years. The Commando Division was transformed under Shuri from the administrative side to the morale of the personnel. Okoye modeled her own leadership on inspiring her squad and would lay down her life for Shuri. The brother T'Challa was a different matter since Okoye privately had doubts about his judgments. She suspected that centuries from now T'Challa's legacy as ruler would be hotly debated more than any other Black Panther in history. His help the world mandate seemed to be for his ego than for normal Wakandans. Nonetheless, she respected his post. Okoye was on her way to Shuri's office when suddenly T'Challa's national broadcast appeared on her communicator. T'Challa said, "Citizens of Wakanda, it has been almost a year since our Earth was reformed by the creator of all things and the so-called Mystery Clan appeared in our nation. There were challenges with our distant relatives from an alternate world, but those missteps are now in the past. The Mystery Clan will be leaving us for another dimension in the next few hours. I know that all of Wakanda will wish them the very best for the future." Okoye was puzzled. How were the Mystery Clan leaving? Were they taking their advanced weapons factories with them? Okoye didn't make it to the office. Instead, Shuri met her in the hall and said, "Walk with me." Okoye noticed the marriage beads on Shuri's wrist but did not pry. "You have been chosen to replace General Kana in the inner circle of Wakanda's defense team," said Shuri and continued, "I understand that your squad has earned a reputation in the ranks of the elite commandos. They too shall be promoted into other areas." "Thank you. Does the appointment have to do with T'Challa's broadcast?" asked Okoye. "Certainly. T'Challa may or may not return from dealing with the mystery clan, so measures are being put in place to safeguard the country," replied Shuri. "And where is General Kana, if I may ask?" "Reassigned. Ramonda, the Queen Mother's residence." Kana was not a welcomed addition to Ramonda's life, he sensed. His mother-in-law spoke to him in an odd tone of voice that harbored dislike, either it was for his Jabari clan roots or his new status as Shuri's husband. "I will not have this. Shuri just cannot come to me and say that she has eloped with you. Where is the respect? I only knew you as her teammate," said Ramonda. "I apologize for the disrespect," said Kana. "Are you compatible with her? Will your marriage fail too?" Kana realized that Ramonda was not angry at him per se, but was concerned that her daughter's marriage did not follow the same path as did T'Challa and his ex-wife. "I will speak with Shuri and tell her that you cannot guard me," said Ramonda. "It is a temporary arrangement in case something happens to T'Challa when he takes the mystery clan away," said Kana. "I have other guards. Shuri is trying to force us together in a slop-shoddy way to make up for not introducing you to me properly." Kana did not know what to say. His wife had warned him that his mother-in-law had an arrogant streak. "Go back to Shuri. You wasted your time in coming here," said Ramonda. The vault, the Kanga mountain range north of Wakanda. T'Challa contemplated on the possibility of his imprisonment by the creator of all things for tampering with the multiverse. He saw the future implications. Still, he had to follow through on his decision to relocate the mystery clan no matter the consequences. As for the progenitor, who was somehow the adversary to the creator of all things, the Black Panther believed that it was a personal feud between the two beings that had spilled over into Wakanda with the appearance of the mystery clan. The fact that Nona's kids were taken advantage of in the cosmic squabble alarmed T'Challa. He would bring up that point if he encountered the creator of all things. As far as T'Challa was concerned, the creator of all things should have used his power to end the progenitor. He activated a beacon on his Black Panther ceremonial uniform that called the reality warper, which he had hidden with his ex-wife Ororo. The gem-like object appeared and levitated in front of his face. He saw his reflection on it. He looked composed and determined. The face mask materialized from the uniform and he was ready to challenge his destiny again. He turned off the hologram of the ancient complex that Nona referred to as the Namore Tunga, which was beneath her palace. He had sent his spy, the ghost, Svani, to investigate it. She reported that it was only a stone structure with no technology and there were 2 levels. T'Challa thought nothing more of the information. A last-minute text message from Shuri stated that her replacement for Kana had arrived. The person was Okoye, and T'Challa made a mental note to reward her for the stellar work in the Tellerson affair. Nona's palace mystery clan territory. Did the creator of all things explain his reason for destroying our universe? Nona asked. He said that there were imbalances, replied the twins. Nona found that imbalance was a weird term to use to describe her former home. There were problems, but life was not all that bad. What imbalances could he have meant? The next time the creator of all things speaks to you, tell him that your mother will also like to talk with him, said Nona. The children acknowledged her request. One question, Mommy. How did this Earth's T'Challa discover us? Asked the girl. URI. He never said, replied Nona. It is strange to see him because he looks just like our father, said Kin. Nona held her son's face. I feel the same way, but we have to move beyond this. We are going to a new world with new possibilities. We will honor your father and keep our eyes to the future as well, said Nona. T'Challa teleported next to the family. Are you ready? He asked. No. We have not dealt with the threat of the progenitor to the children, replied Nona. Can't we hunt him down? The progenitor is a being above the celestials and cosmic entities. Hunting him will take creativity, replied T'Challa. Surely you can think of something, said Nona. I will need your children's assistance, said T'Challa. Nona allowed them to approach the Black Panther. Do you sense any other presence with us? Asked T'Challa. No, replied the 9-year-olds. Nona, I want you to cloak yourself, said T'Challa. Nona used her abilities to turn invisible to human senses, mystical elements, and mechanical sensors. Do you detect your mother? The girl's body ignited into the Phoenix Force fire and the boy glowed in the white-blue haze associated with a cosmic cube. Mommy is barely there, responded the twins. Nona, you can decloak, said T'Challa. She did and wondered how much longer the experiment would take. As I pointed out before, the progenitor is an extremely higher level being. For him to enter our plane of existence undetected means that he either cloaks himself or tunnels through the subatomic. The twins can sense cloaking because all it does is rearrange the subatomic. On the other hand, tunneling is the parting of the subatomic, so now you or I can search for the outline of an object passing through the regular flow of the subatomic, said T'Challa. The twins followed the suggestion and they said, there is someone else in the room with us. Nona went to her children to guard them. Progenitor? She asked T'Challa. Most likely, replied T'Challa. Leave my children in peace and fight me, Nona shouted and looked around the room. T'Challa held her hand out and then he instructed the children to make a beaded bracelet that would glow whenever the progenitor was present. The bracelet appeared on Nona's wrist and it glowed brightly. She saw the irony in the situation. Her father engineered her cloaking power to be able to attack enemies without being noticed until the last moment, and the progenitor was doing the same to her family. The beads stopped glowing. He has left, said the twins. Can he follow us into the reality that you will make? Asked Nona. I am not making any reality, said T'Challa. What? You shall have the responsibility of creating that reality, not me, replied T'Challa. He rested a gem-like object in her palm. I don't understand, said Nona. It was misdirection on my part so that all the attention in the universe would be focused on me and not you. I cannot restore your world because I am not from it. I am giving control over to you, said T'Challa. Nona clenched the gemstone. Chapter 2: The Newest Earth in the Multiverse. Nona only had a moment to think about what her world looked like, then she was there with her children and T'Challa. She opened her hand and found that the gemstone had disintegrated. The twins flew out the room's window and laughed as they rose into the sky. Is it real? Asked Nona as she stared at the land outside of the window. What does your heart say? T'Challa asked. Yes. She hugged him and patted his chest. You did good, she said. Where is your husband? Asked T'Challa. It would not be right to bring him back. I have to accept that he is gone. She looked out of the window. I can't see the children anymore, she said. I can. They have not gone too far. They are over there at the mountain summit, said T'Challa. Do you think I am a bad person for not bringing back my husband? No, replied T'Challa. What will I tell his clan and his parents? The right words will come to you. But what are the parents' names? T'Chaka and Nymea. I see. Were they the same parents from your Earth? Yes, and they are both deceased. Do you want to see them? No, he replied after a short pause. Also, the creator of all things told the children that he destroyed our universe because of imbalances, said Nona. He will have to explain that, said T'Challa. My sentiments exactly. The servants and members of Nona's clan knocked at the door. She went and greeted them. Soon she was out on the palace grounds with her people. T'Challa remained in the palace to observe her. She decided to visit the Black Panther assassin's clan. She met her brother-in-law M'Baku and told him the news of her husband's strange passing. Then she spoke to the father and mother. T'Challa was right, the words came to her in the difficult meeting. The parents were mournful, and it was compounded because there was no body to bury. Next, she went to the White Gorilla, aka the Jabari clan, where her grandmother Queen Divine Justice came from. Their present ruler was Kana, who was called Silver Eye by his people. He was 7 feet tall and hardened by wrestling white gorillas for sport. He was also known as Chief Advisor. She wondered if the Kana from T'Challa's Earth would reach a similar stature. She went down to the River Clan, aka the Water Benders, that was governed by Nakia. The governess wanted pomp and ceremony for the Queen's sudden visit, but Nona declined. The Spacefarers clan was overseen by Taku. Here Nona sought to see the magnitude of T'Challa's reality warper. She asked Taku to speak with his officials in the outer rim of the galaxy. He contacted them on a communicator screen, and the explorers were in their spaceships. Is everything normal? Asked Nona of the chief explorer. Yes, my queen. Are the intergalactic empires of the Kree, Shi'ar, and Badon still holding the peace? She was given an affirmative answer. Which brought her to another question: what became of Hydra America, the old enemy? Did she bring them back as well? She returned to her weapons manufacturer's clan and requested an intelligence report. She breathed a sigh of relief when her security committee stated that the Hydra threat had vanished. But with Hydra gone, who would she be selling weapons to in order to oppose them? She left it for further review. Mommy, there is something you should know, said her daughter telepathically to her. What is it, Uri? The Namore Tunga complex is no longer beneath the palace. Where is it? I am not sure. Do you sense the progenitor? Nona asked as she glanced at her non-glowing bracelet. No, Mommy. Return to the chambers with your brother. I will meet you there, said Nona. The Namore Tunga was a peculiar relic. Not even her grandmother knew what the name meant or who built the complex. It was a marvelous place to explore as a child, but there was nothing of value in it. Chapter 3. It was not lost on T'Challa that the twins could easily have been Ororo and his children had they remained married. It felt odd that the twins stared at him while they waited for Nona. The only difference between our father and you is the scientific knowledge that you possess, said Kin. And why did you give our mother this to hand over to us? Asked Uri as she held out a thin gold card. T'Challa took it from her. Do you know its function? He asked. Teleportation, replied Uri. Directly to you, said Kin to finish the answer. Take care of your mother, said T'Challa. We will. Your father was most likely a great man. He would be proud of you, said T'Challa. Thanks, but where are your children? I have none as yet, replied T'Challa. Are your clansmen also assassins? No, they are from a line of kings and queens like your mother. Ooh. T'Challa relaxed slightly. Why aren't you afraid of the creator of all things? They asked. In my lifetime I have seen so much that I am not overly awed anymore. You should be careful with that opinion, said the twins in the manly voice associated with the creator of all things. Nona entered the chamber and the twins went to her, speaking with their normal voices again. Now let's see where Namore Tunga has gone off to, said Nona. T'Challa was still startled by the incident. Is everything okay? Nona asked him. Yes, replied T'Challa. A hand rested on his shoulder and the creator of all things whispered to him, it's time to bid her farewell because you and I have to talk. T'Challa looked at Nona's bracelet and the twins, neither detected the new presence in the chamber. He accepted that his punishment was at hand. Aren't you coming to help find Namor Tunga? The twins inquired. I have to return to my Earth now, answered T'Challa. They waved at him and he returned the gesture. Then he said his goodbyes to Nona. His teleportation computer took him out of that alternate reality. The first Earth Wakanda Shuri left the bridge of the Nymea battle cruiser to have a private chat with her husband. I cannot stay long as we are over the Mystery Clan territory, said Shuri on her Kimoyo. What is happening there? Kana asked. The clan disappeared and a forest is rapidly reclaiming the land. Did things go well with Mother? She wants me out of her home. Mother will warm up to you, just give her time. She mentioned T'Challa's marriage to Ororo ending. Mother performed the rites on their wedding day, so it was a disappointment to her when the divorce came. She is afraid that the same thing will occur with us. Divorce? Yes. I will speak with her. In the meantime, stay in the spare room that I use on visits to the house. Shuri returned to the bridge. 50 other battle cruisers waited along with hers. Reports came of a celestial host that were observing Wakanda from orbit. The United States President requested 5 minutes to speak with her. She obliged. Good day, said President Bollinger. Good day to you as well. I am not here to argue. We just want to be kept in the loop as this is an intergalactic incident. Has the creator of all things reappeared? Not to our scanners, replied Shuri. Did he pop up by you? Coyness is not appropriate at this hour, said Bollinger. You sent a hit team after my brother. Coyness from me should be the least of your concerns, said Shuri. T'Challa and I have an understanding between us as the leaders of two state superpowers. I did what I believed was right. I have no malice for your brother, said Bollinger. You will be the first to know if anything occurs, said Shuri and politely ended the call. She contacted Okoye in Central City. Okoye sported a shaven head that was marked with ceremonial tattoos. She reported that the extraterrestrial pilgrims had gathered in the main square and awaited the re-emergence of the creator of all things. Additionally, an inhuman named Nanette has encraft close to our western border, said Okoye. Noted, said Shuri. She pondered that everyone waited with bated breaths for the conclusion. She prayed that her brother returned to the world in one piece. Unknown location. T'Challa was walking but not under his volition and he could not see his surroundings. What have you learnt over the last several months other than to mimic my ability to alter the multiverse? Asked an unseen creator of all things. That the progenitor could not harm the twins because you were with them the whole time, replied T'Challa. That is why I like you so much, because you catch on quickly, said the creator of all things. It does not take away from the fact that you took advantage of the kids, said T'Challa. You lose sight as why Nona made the children in the first place to be weapons. I turned those weapons onto the being that initiated the process, said the creator of all things. Where are the children's father? With me. Then why is the progenitor after the kids? Why don't you destroy him? Why is the father considered your adversary? Why were they in my Wakanda? Asked T'Challa. Progenitor took the father's body and moves around in it. But that means he looks exactly like me, said T'Challa. Destroy him then. Already did, but not in the way that you are thinking, said the creator of all things. You have come to punish me for creating the reality warper, said T'Challa. Just like you punished Kana when he broke your laws, the same will apply to you. And Nona. Her dimension will be cut off from the rest of the multiverse and hidden. You will never see them again. But progenitor, his fear that the children will kill him led to his assumption that he could collapse their new dimension on them. As we speak, he is attempting just that. Involuntarily, T'Challa stopped walking and his surroundings were revealed. He was in the Namor Tunga complex. You are on your native Earth and in Wakanda, said the creator of all things, but with a few slight modifications. One is that I will keep your physical body since you rely too heavily on it. 2. You shall be in an incorporeal state that will be visible to everyone. And third, you will cease to exist the instant that you step foot outside of the Namor Tunga. This is your punishment. One question, said T'Challa as he examined his ghost-like hands. What is the meaning behind the name of this complex? Simple. In Nona's old world before gadgets, people communicated over long distances by knocking the stones of these walls. They called it the Talking House. They believed that they could speak with the souls of people from here, replied the creator of all things, and then he was gone. T'Challa was confused. The Namor Tunga was underground. How could it communicate with people over vast distances? Chapter 4. The Namor Tunga had replaced Nona's palace above ground and a thick forest encompassed the structure. T'Challa waited at the edge of the grand doorway for Shuri to find him. She didn't disappoint. Wakanda's military might converged on the Namor Tunga. Shuri came first to meet him and realized that he was like a ghost. He related what little he could remember of his conversation with the creator of all things. His memory of the encounter was hazy. I will have Okoye and her Durham mileage assigned here to guard the grounds, said Shuri. We will work this out, said T'Challa. I know, brother, said Shuri. Ramonda's residence. Kana got the update on T'Challa's condition from Shuri and he went to Ramonda, who was in her meditation garden. Mother, T'Challa has returned. I will take you to him, said Kana. How is he? Asked Ramonda.